All right, let's talk about what this all means. And Claudio Galimberti is the Senior Vice President of Analysis at Rystad Energy. He joins us now live from Houston, Texas. Welcome to the program. So tell us, why is President Putin doing this? And is it just about strengthening the ruble?
Thank you very much for inviting me. Good evening. I think it's part of the strategy of Russia to withstand the pressure from the sanction and the pressure coming from all the Western countries. So indeed, the rubles has shown signs of resilience, and one of the reasons is that there is an expectation that potentially at some point some of the payment could be made in ruble. But it's a classic case of standoff. In this case, it's a game of who blinks first, as a matter of fact.
And talk to us, Claudio, about how the actual payment mechanism would work, because President Putin is asking buyers to open ruble accounts in Russian banks, and yet we're in an environment with global sanctions.
Yes, indeed. For this, I do not know all the details in this case. I'm more of a supply and demand analyst when it comes to oil and gas. But indeed, I think that it's a matter of if they want to find a solution can be found. But we are at a standstill, and it's, as I said at the beginning, this is a game of who blinks first.
And indeed, countries are saying no, and there is an ultimatum that President Putin has given there: no rubles, no gas. So if countries are saying no, what will happen?
Well, in this case, it's very difficult to understand what's going to happen, because on the one side, the Russian economy depends on the exports. So if at some point the Russian decides not to send gas to Europe, then it will result in a very significant financial loss for the Russian economy. For the oil, the situation is different, because oil can be, as a matter of fact, shifted from the European countries to other countries outside of Europe relatively easier than natural gas. So, but when it comes to natural gas, the situation would be much more complicated, both for Europe, which depends on the natural gas, and for Russia, which depends on the revenue coming from the natural gas. For Europe, the situation is a little bit easier right now, because we are no longer in the winter time, and therefore it's slightly easier. Europe can, to some extent, depends for the time being, on the reserves that it has. But come October, they need to find a solution for this. But as I said, for oil, the situation is a little bit different. We have seen, as a matter of fact, that countries are the flow of oils is going towards the eastern countries. So it is rebalanced.
Okay, and we're hearing that the threat is to cut off gas supplies. Do you think President Putin would do that? And also, what about oil supplies?
So as far as gas, we just need to see. I mean, it's almost impossible at this point to make a bet whether or not this is going to happen. If you were to ask me what's going to happen, I think it's probably nothing is going to happen in the first week, but then probably there will be some first moves. As far as oil is concerned, the rebalancing is already occurring, in the sense that up until the Ukraine invasion, Europe was receiving a huge amount of oil, both crude and products, from Russia. And what we have seen is that initially there was a decrease in the amount of barrels sent out of Russia, and that was the result of the European countries primarily being shy of having to deal with Russian oil. But then lately, the flow of oil is resuming from the western ports of Russia. The interesting thing is that currently the destination of these barrels, which typically is known, result as unknown. So we don't know where these barrels are going to eventually land. One potential is that this will be floating storage. For the time being, that's possible. It would be very costly, but they could float around. Another thing is that they could go to India and China, and India has already increased the purchase of very discounted Euro barrels. The third is that they could end up eventually again in the European countries, because let's not forget one thing: only the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada have embargoed the Russian oil. The other countries have not.
Okay. So many details. Thank you so much for putting it all into context for us. Claudio Galimberti from Rystad Energy. Appreciate your time and analysis.